Bill going for chair? Bill, no. Are you running for chair? Well, who is? AJ. Brief meeting, Wayford Nathan. We can adjust the agenda, but she's going to be 15 minutes late. We can do the other. One is going to be 15, 20 minutes. So we're going to the agenda and do the voting up. Good evening, and welcome to the July 2nd, 2026 Police Accountability Board meeting. I want to welcome those in attendance and also those who are watching on YouTube, and thank you for joining us here today for this important meeting. I'm going to start the meeting with a roll call introduction of our board members, and I'm going to start to my far left.
Joyful evening, Arlene Brown, and I represent the Alliance seat.
The Reverend Keith Patterson, and I am a Alliance seat member as well.
Good evening, Catherine Thomas, Alliance seat member as well.
Luam Teklaab, East District seat.
Larry Knox, Northeast seat.
AJ Derwin, Northwest seat.
And I'm Bill Clark. I'm the mayor's appointee to the Police Accountability Board and the current board chair. And I do say current board chair because we will be having elections tonight, waiting on one additional board member to arrive before we actually conduct the elections. But what I'd like to do is, before we get into nominations and elections, is have the approval of the minutes from June 18th, 2026 regular board meeting. If I can have a motion to approve those minutes that were sent out earlier.
I move that the minutes be approved.
Second?
I second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Great. The minutes have been approved. And with that, should we move to the executive director's report? Okay, we'll suspend.
ready.
Okay.
Can you hear? There we go.
have to get very close. Good evening, board members and members of the public, and certainly the staff that are here tonight. This evening, I am certainly pleased to spend a little bit of time talking about the executive director report as well as the monthly report. As you know, both reports are in your folders, and they are also loaded to the website for transparency purposes. Rather than going over every single detail this evening, I'd just like to spend a few moments highlighting a few accomplishments that I believe best reflect where the agency is and reflects where we're headed. So the theme of this month's report is strengthening oversight through leadership, partnership, and innovation. I chose that theme because June demonstrated that although our legal authority has changed, our commitment to accountability and impact continue to grow. So I'd like to begin with what matters most, and that's our community. During June, the Police Accountability Board continued to receive complaints from residents, documenting 12 new complaints through our online portal, email, walk-ins, and the hotline. We also participated in 12 community engagement activities, reaching almost 1,000 community members across Rochester, and that was through a variety of events, so neighborhood meetings, tabling, outreach events, presentations, and also strategic partnership meetings. In addition, the Policy and Oversight Division advanced 7 policy recommendations related to police surveillance and privacy, while continuing to identify complaint trends and systemic issues that will help inform future oversight and policy reform efforts. Our South and Northeast District community meetings were especially meaningful. Residents asked thoughtful questions about our current authority, the complaint process, accessibility, youth engagement, and the future of civilian oversight. What I personally took away from these conversations is that our community does remain deeply invested in accountability and wants to be a part of shaping what that future of reimagination of policing and of public safety in Rochester. That continued engagement is certainly encouraging and inspiring. The second idea that I'd like to lift up is policy and partnership. This month, we continued advancing our proposal for change on community surveillance and privacy. I'm pleased that Chief Smith, Chief of Police, formally responded to 4 of our recommendations, agreeing to several important transparency measures, including the development and publication of privacy impact assessments, or PIA, and we expect responses to the remaining 3 recommendations later this month. Beyond the written response, I had a meeting with the chief, and we had the opportunity to talk about future collaboration and opportunities for strengthening our communication between the Rochester Police Department and the Police Accountability Board. I can say that I am encouraged about the conversation that we had regarding data transparency and the ability to access data, and we will have an update within the next few weeks relative to where that stands. But I feel very hopeful and very positive about the conversation that we had. And then finally, I just want to speak briefly about leadership beyond the greater Rochester community. So the work that's happening in Rochester is contributing to the broader conversation across the nation about civilian oversight. This month, the Police Accountability Board continued leading the efforts relative to the New York State Civilian Oversight Consortium. And as you heard from Dr. Campbell at the last board meeting, the survey was administered and we continue to collect responses. That will help with our efforts when we meet with civilian oversight agencies across the state later in the summertime. We also received national recognition through an invitation for me to participate in NACOL's newly established Existential Threat Working Group. The purpose of this working group is to bring together oversight leaders from across the country to support agencies facing significant legislative or judicial challenges to their authority. Members will provide strategic guidance, share lessons learned, offer testimony when appropriate, and support agencies navigating similar circumstances. While I certainly wish that no oversight agency had to face these types of challenges, we know that it is happening with increased regularity. And I believe that there is value in sharing Rochester's experiences so that other communities can benefit from our lessons learned. I want to share that these opportunities are certainly not about one person. They are a reflection of the board's leadership, the dedication of our staff, and the resilience of this agency that we've demonstrated over this past year. They affirm that the work taking place in Rochester is helping to shape the future of civilian oversight, both across New York and nationally. So in closing, as we begin a new fiscal year, I really believe that we've reached an important point in our journey. Over the past year, we have learned that oversight is not defined solely by the authority we lost, but it is defined by the leadership we demonstrate, the partnerships that we build, and the trust that we continue to earn. That is the foundation upon which we will continue moving our agency forward. We will continue to advocate for the restoration of investigative authority. We will continue producing evidence-based policy recommendations with the hope that that they will increasingly be accepted by the chief. We will continue strengthening partnerships and engaging residents throughout our community, even if it's one by one. And we will continue demonstrating that accountability is built not only through individual investigations, but also through transparency, community engagement, thoughtful policy, and certainly public trust. I want to take just a moment to thank the board for your leadership. You volunteer and you dedicate your services without pay, and we are extremely grateful for that. I also want to thank our staff for their unwavering dedication, their patience, and their steadfastness. The Police Accountability Board Alliance and our community partners and residents for continuing to believe in the mission, the vision, and the tenets of the Police Accountability Board. This concludes my report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions? Yes.
I just thank you for that report. I'm curious about the existential threats committee that you're involved in. How large is it, and can you give us an idea of what other cities are being represented?
So I just received the invitation just a few days ago. I haven't received formal information about when we're going to meet. I'm making the assumption it will be virtually on Zoom or Teams, but I'll get an understanding. I know New York City is involved, and that's the only other agency that I know. But as I get additional information, I'd be happy to share that, certainly with the board, but also the public.
Thank you for the report. I had two questions. One, for the recommendations, the policy recommendations, can you share with us the letter that the chief sent back?
I had planned to in the Thursday/Friday letter.
Okay, thanks. And also with, I want to highlight that we got 12 complaints in, and again, it's continuing that even with where we're at right now, temporarily, that the public is still coming to us with complaints. Obviously, the problem has not been solved that we were created for. And I'm wondering, it's been constant. We've had hundreds of complaints come in. PSS from the public gets, a handful, like less than 20 over the last couple of years. Do we know, is PSS transmitting their complaints they get from the public to us?
They are. We actually just received one the other day from them.
Okay, so we are,
Yes.
so those numbers, they are still transmitting the few that they get, but they are, so it's just one for the past month from them,
That's all yes, I have
Okay.
one from them for this
and
month.
we had 12.
Professional standard. It's in internal affairs. You're welcome.
Okay, I just, that's a pattern that shows the need for us to be able to investigate because people are coming to us and not PSS.
People are coming to us, and just a little bit of an anecdote. We were compiling the data for June last week because the time between the last board meeting and this one was very short.
2 weeks, yeah.
So we had to recalculate our numbers because we had 2 additional complaints come in over the weekend, which still represented the month of June.
Thank you.
Reed, are there any other questions?
Yes, I'm a little bit curious, and I don't know.
Don't forget to speak into the
I'm
mic.
sorry.
Thank you.
I'm a little curious, and I don't know how much information you can share. You submitted 7 recommendations to
Yes.
the police chief. He formally responded to 4.
Yes.
What does that mean?
So-
I formally responded. Did he just send a letter saying, thank you, I accept, I'm going to talk about it? Can you fill us in a little bit more about what that is?
So a few things. So he has 30 days to respond to the Police Accountability Board relative to our recommendations. There was a little bit of confusion, although we transmitted 7. There was somehow he only had 4. So he responded to what he thought was in totality, but we did send 7 to him. So when we had our conversation, I wanted to clarify that. And by the end of next week, he said that he would respond to those other 3 to make that complete. But as it was asked by Board Member Knox, I will send the letter that was sent to me. But so we had the 4, and I can just go over them briefly. The PAB recommendation: adopt a privacy impact assessment template for the use at the RPD based on guidance from the U.S. Department of Justice. The chief said, I agree with this recommendation, and it's currently being completed and should be done in the near future. So I did send an email back. Can you tell me what the near future means so we could have a better, just for accountability and transparency purposes. The next recommendation: complete the privacy impact assessment for the body-worn camera DWC program and digital evidence management system as required by the City of Rochester's ordinance number 2022-285. His response was, I agree with these recommendations, and once the template is created, OBI, which is the Office of Business, I always forget the I, Intelligence, will complete a privacy impact assessment for the BWC and the DEMS program. So again, I asked, could you give us a little more idea of what that timeline looks like? The next recommendation: complete and submit to City Council a privacy impact assessment for any future legislation or grant application related to the collection and or storage of PII. His response was, we will evaluate the need for a privacy impact assessment on a case-by-case basis. So my response was, could you tell us how you will do that measurement or that judging of that case-by-case? And then the last recommendation: publish all privacy impact assessments on the open data portal. His response: I agree that if RPD and OBI complete a privacy impact assessment, we will publish it on our open data portal promptly. So those are the kind of the call and the response, if you will.
Okay.
And then the other 3, we should have a response shortly.
Good. Thank you very much, because it's great that we get to read them. But again, the public has no clue as to what we're talking about.
Sure.
And I think that was made very clear when we met with the community,
Yes.
that we really have to give them more clearer, basic information. And thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to ask, I think I misunderstood. So
Can you speak into the mic, Yvonne?
Hello,
so
can
they
you hear me?
Can you hear me now? No. Okay. So, question is that he responded back to you verbally or through email?
No, it's an official letter, and as
Okay.
I stated, I'll share the.
So that's
letter.
how. So that's how he responded.
He's
You know,
required per the charter to respond.
No. That's not what I'm just saying. He responded, like I'm talking right now. He didn't talk to you verbally. He didn't call you on the phone. He responded to you or us through a letter.
That's what I was trying to
Okay.
finish. Yes, he responded via a letter to me,
All right. Thank you.
and it was sent by email.
And this might be being worked on before because I think I brought it up. Is there a way, or are we still in the process of putting on the website some kind of a cartograph or something that shows all of our policy recommendations and where they are with the city responding or not responding, with the chief responding? Because some of them go to council, some go to the chief. I think it'd be good if there was just one spot on the site for people to go to where they can just see, here's a recommendation from 2025, 24, 23, last month. And here is where council or their chief has or hasn't responded in what way.
So we were planning on including that information in the annual report for 25-26, but we can certainly take into consideration doing a further look back.
Okay, and just have it on the website. I mean, I think it'd be good if that was, if people oftentimes they're not going to click on the report, but if it was just, you click on the policy part of the website, here's the recommendations that have been transmitted, and here is what's happened with it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's oftentimes in legislative bodies, there's a recommendation, it goes somewhere, then people just don't know what happens to it unless you're an insider. So
Yes.
the public to be able to go and see. And then if we need to advocate, they can also see, oh, look, all this work was done, and council hasn't followed up. The mayor hasn't followed up, or we haven't followed up on our end if there's something we need to do. But I think we've done our part.
Sure.
They could be somewhere.
Thank you.
Could you give a brief overview of what the privacy impact assessment is?
So what was it, 2 months ago? Was it in May? Sarah Jenks came before city council, I'm sorry, before the board and talked about, drones and other just activity and how potentially our privacy is ignored or is circumvented, or there could be better guardrails around the use of those types of tools or devices.
I just want to piggyback off of something Board Member Knox mentioned, which I really appreciated, the active sense of your language of keeping track not only of what the chief has agreed to, but if it's been completed, the progress of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a really great idea to have it actively on the website, an active page that can be routinely updated at a certain cadence.
Mm-hmm.
So again, back to that accountability piece. And then also for the fourth recommendation that the chief did review and did not agree to, can you tell us what that is?
I went through all. I went
them?
through
Okay.
them.
Thank you.
So adopt a privacy impact assessment template. Oh, the one that he said, complete and submit to city council. This is what we said. Sorry, a privacy impact assessment for any future legislation or grant application related to the collection and or storage of PII. And his response: we will evaluate the need for a privacy impact assessment on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. Thank you for that reminder.
You're welcome.
Are there any other questions? If not, I'm going to skip back to the top of the agenda. Now that all of our board members are here, I thought it was important that we all be here for the election of officers. As I indicated when I introduced myself, I'm the current board chair, but our charter indicates that after July 1st of each year, the board shall elect a new chair and vice chair. And this is the meeting where we do that. But before I ask for any nominations, I just want to thank the board for their support over the last year. It's been a real pleasure working with you, getting support, the guidance, and also the advice that you provided during the year. It's been a real pleasure. Larry, I learned a lot from you, and I'm sure our next board chair you'll continue to pass that wisdom on also. So also I wanted to thank the staff because, I mean, the staff has really, the leadership team here, and Dr. Small, you guys have done a tremendous job in making us a nationally recognized organization. It was a pleasure going to the last two NACO conferences and seeing the respect that you and your team get from across the country and the accomplishments that you noted tonight, the new teams that you're being a part of. So it was just a pleasure working with you as your board chair and working with this entire team who has just done an outstanding job. So with that, I have decided that due to my schedule, I cannot continue as the board chair. So, and given the fact that we do nominations at this meeting, I did have some conversations with various board members, and I know that AJ Derwin, I'd like to nominate you to be the board chair, but the floor is open. Anyone who wants to self-nominate can nominate. And we have a current vice chair, which is Lawam, and she's willing to continue in that role. But at this point in time, I'll open the floor up for nominations. If someone else wants to run for board chair or a vice, not hearing anyone, I guess the nominations would be closed, and we can move on to the voting. So all those in favor of AJ becoming board chair and Lawam remaining our vice chair, please say aye. Oh, can't do that slate? Okay, we'll go with AJ as chair. All in favor of him as board chair?
Aye.
Great, it's unanimous. And all in favor of Lawam continuing her duties as vice chair of the board? That's unanimous also. So with that, congratulations to you, AJ, and Lawam. And with that, I pass the imaginary gavel down to you, and this is now your meeting. No.
Hello. Congratulations to the new chair and vice chair, or continuing vice chair. Congratulations to you both, and congratulations to the board. And it's good to be in a new fiscal year. It feels as if it's a fresh start. I just have a brief, a few things to say. We had met on June 18th, not too long ago, so I'll keep my comments brief. But since we last spoke, the legal team has been working on ensuring that all complaints received during the past fiscal year have been transmitted to RPD. In addition to that, we continue to work on our audit process for purposes of reporting the disposition of each complaint outcome that we have sent over to the RPD over the years. We're figuring out if we're going to do that piecemeal, or if we're going to do it in large groups, or if we're going to start from the beginning, or if we're going to start from the current, to see how we're going to do that. But that plan is moving forward, and that's very important for us. We want to be able to report the disposition of complaints that we have transmitted to RPD. It's required by the charter. We've not done it before, and it's something that I believe is imperative for purposes of accountability and transparency. With regard to our appeal, I just speak very generally about that. The team is continuing to work with outside counsel on ensuring that the filings are made in a timely manner, and that all the arguments and points that are important to the Police Accountability Board are being properly addressed. And I'm pleased to report that we are on track in all respects with regard to those matters. We did meet with outside counsel yesterday, and we had a good discussion. Our submission date is July 8th. And again, we'll probably have that submitted before July 8th. The team also stands ready, willing, and able to assist the board's Legislative Affairs Committee, which was formally formed last month's meeting, to get that process off the ground and up and running. That's very important to us as well, and would like to be able to work with you in moving that forward and processing that as best possible, utilizing all of our talents jointly. We've also supported Dr. Myers-Small with concerns that we have brought up at previous meetings with regard to our SharePoint access to the RPD data banks and the RPD documents and evidence. That is a power that we have under the charter that has not been touched at all. It's just as it was the day the charter was drafted and approved. So we have that power, and we are endeavoring to get that access back, hopefully in a friendly manner. But it's imperative that we get that back. So I want to report on that. And again, we need those documents. We need the evidence. We need the videos to be able to prepare and fully complete all of our policy projects, which we've been formulating and which we're prepared to move forward on. We need the evidence. We need the documents so that we can do that. That's an imperative thing that we continue to move forward on. With that, I don't have anything further to report. Again, I want to congratulate the board on completing a year and the new chair seat and vice chair seat. And I also wish everybody a very happy and safe 4th of July. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'm certainly here to answer them for you. Thank you.
Any questions? Anyone? I have a question related to the data access piece.
Yes.
Have we communicated those concerns to City Council, to your knowledge?
Yes.
Yeah. And do we have a response from them? Okay. Are they going to be able to help us attain that access?
I told everybody to speak in the mic. The question was, is City Council aware, and how are they helping us? They are aware. They stand ready to help us. The next step was to have the conversation with the chief, and then we'll circle back after that.
Other questions? I guess maybe one more question. Were there any other updates related to the legislation, either a response from any of the delegation or anything to that effect?
Not at this time, no.
Which is why I respectfully request all of our talents be joined together in making the squeaky wheel so we get the oil. It's important that we all work together on that. I know everybody has contacts and people that they know. The more of that we can do, the better off we're going to be with this proposal. Thank you.
All right, what's the next department up for an update?
We'll hear from our Deputy Executive Director, Brittany Wells.
Thank you, Dr. Smalls. Okay, can you hear me? Just want to make sure I'm in the mic. So first, congratulations to our new chair and vice chair. We're going to be excited about the year ahead for us. And good evening to all of the members of the board. So today I'm reporting out for the Division of Public Affairs and Community Engagement. During the month of June, PACE, team continued to strengthen community connections and increase awareness of the Police Accountability Board through active outreach efforts all across Rochester. PACE staff participated in 12 community events, engaging with approximately 929 community members. A few notable events included the 19th Ward Square Fair, 100 Men of Faith, which was a faith-based initiative that was done with Jason Monroe, and he's looking forward to working with a lot of our pastors and clergy in Rochester, and also the Juneteenth Festival. This summer, we are also partnering with the Urban League of Rochester for our biweekly community outreach walks, which started in the North Clinton and North Goodman areas this month. All of these events, provided valuable opportunities to share information about the PAB, build relationships with community partners, and listen to residents' concerns regarding public safety. I'm sure all of you know, because you were there, that 2 additional PAB board members, Larry Knox and Yvonne Wilson, held annual community updates in the Northeast and Southwest quadrant, which turned out to be great events. Southwest really, really showed up. And so thank you, Yvonne. And just for a complete list of upcoming events, make sure that you check out our website, rockpab.org. We are updating our calendar every day. Lou has been very helpful with making sure that we're putting all those events up. Even when you go onto the website, the first thing that pop up now is the graphic just showing you the places that we'll be at this summer. Also be sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn to stay informed about the PAB's work, our community events, as well as opportunities for engagement. Thank you.
Any questions?
For the walks with the Urban League, can you let us know as board members when those are, especially the district reps? Because I don't mind walking my district or helping other people. I do it a lot with my day job, so I think it'd be good for us to be out there, especially as people have questions from the public. What's going on? Board member, I think, should be there, not just staff.
Absolutely, absolutely. We'd love to do that.
Yeah, to that end, I think even like a broader scale, just notifications to the board of some of these public events that board members might be able to attend and might be able to sit at a table with y'all and talk to community members. I think.
And I got a question. So the board members and the staff, right? Okay, so we're engaged in the community, correct? I guess I said this last time. So could we also engage the alliance in some of those things in the walks with the stuff like that? So that can they get information so they'll know also where and what time things are going to be happening? Because I still say we would not be here as a PAB board or staff or anything else if the alliance had not fought for us. They are basically the foundation on the reason why we are here. So I think that they need to be included in more things. So I'm putting it out there again.
I agree that yes, the Alliance needs to be included in more. I would also like to see and hear from the Alliance more than we do. As Alliance representatives, we are trying to stay in touch with the community as much as possible. And we need the feedback in order to do our job more effectively. If we don't hear from the Alliance, we don't know what the community is actually looking for other than what we see or find in our personal going out. And to the board, for those who have assignments from the various districts, congratulations. You all did an awesome job meeting with the community, doing presentations. I would like to make a suggestion. It needs to be twice a year instead of once. Because of the response from the community, they are not seeing board members enough. They're not hearing from us enough to keep them stimulated to be active. So I would like for us to consider stepping out a little bit more, I know we're all busy, we're stretched out like cheap bubble gum, and it's okay, but we have to do a little bit more to be active in the community ourselves. Thank you.
Next, we have Dolores Ivy Page, Director of Operations.
Good evening, everyone. As my colleagues mentioned, I want to congratulate AJ and also Luam and all members of the board. I'm going to give you a brief update regarding operations, not the day-to-day operations, but particularly focusing on training. Specifically in June, we participated in 12 trainings with 35 staff participation. An overview, I also have the numbers for the end of the fiscal year. So for the end of the fiscal year, we actually did 13 trainings with 67, I'm sorry, that's incorrect. We did 38 trainings for staff with 305 staff participation. And also for the board, for the month of June, there was actually one training and with the number of board participating, which was 6. And that was the office retreat that was held on Friday, June 29th. I want to thank those who were able to attend. We truly appreciated that. So I also want to look forward, we want to look forward to the upcoming fiscal year and the trainings that will be included on the dashboard. So it will be easier for you to navigate through those. So we're trying to streamline that process. So that should be rolled out with the help of our webmaster, Luan Vu. So that will be rolled out for fiscal year 26-27. Some of the some of the staff training that we participated in were framing AI in an evidence-based perspective, HR briefing, how to lead in a multi-generational complex world, and Monroe County Language Access Coalition meeting. There are several others, but I just don't want to list them all. So with that, I'll end my update. If you have any questions, I'm open to them.
I have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned training related to AI, evidence-based perspectives. Is that right? Was that related to policing or more general use of AI for research purposes, or what was that training about?
This actually was done by our Policy and Oversight Department. I don't have that information for you now. It was 2 staff members that attended, but I can get that for you next week.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I'm curious about how the construction is going on the building. Is there any update on when the other side is going to be done? Is it done?
So we've had meetings on that, and right now the date is listed as September.
September.
Yes.
That is quite a delay, given that we were told that it would be done in April, which is why we had to move as quickly as we did.
Well,
that's
at one of the other board meetings, I did update and say that they encountered some issue with the AD lift.
Mm-hmm.
So those surprise contractual things happened, so that pushed the date out. The furniture and everything has been ordered. We did take a walk through. Previously, they have gotten some work done, and we have been having meetings about the new space. But again, that delay did happen because of the ADA lift that they're putting in on that section.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay. Next department.
Last but not least, Dr. Ashley Campbell, Policy and Oversight.
Greetings. Congratulations again to our new board chair and vice chair. I have very brief comments from the Policy and Oversight Division. Most recently, we launched a mini research project called What's the Story, with an effort to truly begin to sharpen our lens of how we understand any kind of data that we receive, be it complaint data that may come in through our normal channels, or be it something that we may overhear, or be it that we receive content, physical content that we're looking at. We actually just completed our debrief session yesterday, and it was very successful in terms of how all of the departments that participated were able to really dig deep in the questions that were posed. And so that work has legs. It will continue on with some very focused work looking at the beats that our RPD have. Okay? And then the next very short update that I have is I believe you all have received an email correspondence in requesting your presence to view a film called Let's Be Clear. The film was developed by Measures for Justice, and so our intent is for us to have very robust conversations about the content in that film that really addresses criminal justice data issues that we bump into on a day-to-day basis. So that is on the horizon.
I just wanted to add to Dr. Campbell's comments about the last remark. Once we do that internally as a staff and board, then we want to get some feedback, certainly from the board, and we want to make it a community effort to have those discussions. So that's the next step.
There, if I may, there was a question earlier about the AI training. That is coming up. It's forthcoming, and it is going to take a focus of policing.
Any questions?
I'm sorry, I got a comment. Everything, the training that's going on right now is strictly for the staff, correct?
Yes, the research project that we did between policy and oversight, public affairs and community engagement, and legal were all internal, yes.
And I guess, and my question is why? What's going to be the outcome of them being trained, right? After that, I think I heard Leslie say, then we're going to go out to the public and get them engaged in this, because the whole, to me, idea of transparency, we can get all the training in the world, but if we don't go out there to the public and share what we're being trained on, right? And to me, we're defeating the purpose, because the purpose is we want the public to know how to do what it is they need to do and things about policy and oversight and all that kind of stuff. So that is in the near future, correct?
Yes, so just for a point of clarification, those are two separate things. The Let's Be Clear is a film screening that is with us that has legs where it will be interfacing with the community. The internal project that we did called What's the Story was more so for us to sharpen how we engage with the information that we have, so that we can take the data that we receive in our monthly reports, we can take that to another level. So in essence, the research project was designed as a way to start re-engage around the topics that we receive, that we bump into on a day-to-day basis, and how do we actually move forward, be it policy recommendations, be it recommendations on just how we do what we do, or how RPD may do their particular actions, what have you. We want to be able to sharpen that, so that when we actually come to the table and say, look, this is how we need, this is how the staff engage with these issues, this is how we would like the community to engage with these issues, we have a streamlined approach to doing that work.
I'm not trying to be difficult, but we don't actually need the training that we get. We don't have to pass that by the police department or anything like that, correct? They're not the ones who establish how we engage with the public.
Of course, no.
I'm just saying, so we as the board and the staff, right, and go once again to the alliance, okay? We can get as much training as we want to. We can be the smartest bulb in the, the lamp. But if we're not engaging the public, our whole purpose is to engage the community so they'll know everything that we know. We're going to share that with them. So by us going out there in the community and just looking at somebody and making our own perception on what they need, to me that's not that's a waste of time. I'm just going to be honest. So that's why I need to understand what's going on. Because if I go stand up in Wagner's or somewhere and watch people go by, how are they getting engaged? I'm making my perception from what I see. I'm not talking to those people. I'm not engaging those people in the conversation. So that's just my pet peeve. So
I understand.
Okay.
I think it might be helpful, Yvonne, maybe if we just took a conversation offline to drill down so you can understand what the process is. I understand what you're saying. I think there's just a little misunderstanding from our perspective about what the purpose is. We are required to get training per the charter, right, to help us do different aspects of the charter. So professional development is a requirement. And so this helps us with looking at trends and patterns and things. You can shake your, I mean, it's helpful.
I understand all that. I'm going to say it's good. You are supposed to be trained.
Right.
I got that. But we don't just do it because of the policy or the charter say it. We also are going to do it because we want the community to get what they need. So that is all I'm saying. We
Absolutely.
Can take it offline, we can go executive, we can do whatever we want to do. But I just want to make sure that we are all on the same page, that our whole purpose and our goal is to get those people out there in the community also trained on what they need to know about the drones or whatever it is. So they understand that we are not just doing it because it's in the charter, we're doing it for them. That's all I'm saying.
I didn't want to infer that, but what I'm saying is if we don't come from a similar framework, we can go out into the community. If we're not coming from a uniform and consistent process, that's a problem. We're going to be disjointed. We want to make sure that our staff are on the same page relative to language, process, etc.
Hey, Dr. Campbell, I'm glad that you're doing this. I guess a concern, even my job, we're trying to be more contemplative about why we do things. Oftentimes it's been a past practice. You always do it that way, and that's not always good. But I also want to make sure, especially as we're trying to explain this to the community, that's not too esoteric or too out there, that people are like, you're supposed to be doing accountability work. What is this other thing that you're doing? So that's new to government to do something like this. I mean, it's often not done. It's past practice, do exactly to the word of, the book, and thinking outside the boxes, just what are you doing? It's woke or something maybe like that, right? So I think it's just as I kind of understand where it's coming from, although it takes learning to get there. I think as we're talking to the community, or as we're like what Yvonne Wilson was saying, doing something like this was a little bit different than the normal kind of work. Just make sure we're not in a bubble of, well, we get it, and everybody else is like, what are y'all doing? I need you to investigate cases or give me some policy recommendations. This helps feed that work and get a better understanding, but it's not commonly understood.
Understood. If I may, in terms of a response, just to kind of bring closure, I center all of the work that I do from a social sciences lens. It doesn't matter that is how I center my work. Aside from that, what I have observed and what I understand to be true is that often when you ask a person a question, it is very difficult for them to respond in a way that will give you the material that you need to go impact a systems change, impact a policy change, impact the way that something may be performed on a day-to-day basis. You need enough context in order to really inform those elements. The intent of doing this kind of approach is to really make sure that when we step into a situation, we have a wide lens of how we're actually engaging with the topic, engaging with the subject matter, so that when a topic comes up or when a question comes up, we can actually say and speak with confidence, I think really the issue may be more so a systems issue, right? I can see that in this particular case, the police officer may have come into the situation, he only heard a piece, or he or she only heard a piece of the situation, but didn't know what happened just 10 seconds prior. And so in our work in trying to help ourselves, not only ourselves, but even in the work that we engage in with the community, how do we come in with a holistic approach to really making sure that we're keeping our lens as wide as possible, but also making sure that we're very poignant in whatever the change or the suggestion is. So the approach that I am taking is more so of making sure that our lens can be as wide as possible, and also recognizing that we carry so many different things on a day-to-day basis. How we show up in different scenes or different situations actually matters, and we carry our perspectives, our experiences in almost every single thing that we do. If we don't center that, if we don't be real about it, what will tend to happen is you'll end up just chasing things that have no connective tissue. So for me, it's about how do we make sure at the end of the day, we are being authentic to ourselves, but also authentic to the actual issue that is happening within the community. And so there is a very methodical approach that I am taking with this exercise in order to ensure that what we produce next is of great value and that it can be very informative and a true partnership with community in the same process.
Other questions? I have a few questions or topics related to policy. So you mentioned the AI training as it relates to policing. Do we know if RPD is using AI for any purpose at all?
Not with confidence, I can't answer.
Okay, might be worth exploring that as a
Yes.
as a potential policy issue. What, if anything, are they using AI for? I've heard of situations not only across the country, but even in New York, where there are police departments using AI for certain sorts of purposes. In particular, for evaluating large amounts of surveillance data, for example. Right? We have a report on the surveillance technologies RPD is using. Are they using AI to evaluate that surveillance data, for example? That'd be something I'd be curious to know about. Another issue that has recently come to my awareness, though there is a sort of a long, some history of good research on this topic. It's the reliability or lack thereof of drug sniffing dogs. There's actually some really great research I recently became aware of basically the inaccuracy or the failures of some of these drug sniffing dog programs. And so there's actually one paper in particular I would highlight, but this isn't the only one. There's a lot of research on this. One is called Handler Beliefs Affect Scent Detection Dog Outcomes. Basically meaning if an officer thinks there's drugs somewhere, they have ways to encourage the dog to signal. That's what sort of the findings were in a nutshell from this research. It was conducted by Lisa Litt and colleagues in 2011. As I said, there's a lot of other research on this. I think this would be also another area to explore. In particular, is RPD using drug sniffing dogs? In particular, are they relying on dog alerts as probable cause to conduct a further search? And if so, what might be the reliability issues there? One other point I wanted to make as it relates to policy. You mentioned the film and Measures for Justice. I just want to highlight that they have a site which includes a lot of very interesting data from around the country, but they also particularly have data about RPD. And that data includes things like use of force over time, or use of force incidents over time, and calls for service. And if you look at that data, some strange things actually might come up. So I did review some of this data in the past, and there was a time period, I think it was from like October, November of 2022. I want to say 2022, might have been 2023, somewhere around that ballpark. And at that time period, there was a spike in use of force, while during that same time period, there was a drop in calls for service. Now that's strange. You would expect calls for service and use of force to be correlated, but for this particular time period, they were not. And I'd be curious to know if we can try to assess what was going on in that time period, and maybe other time periods where there seems to be a misalignment between use of force or other sorts of police activity vis-a-vis calls for service.
So are you speculating that less people call because of the aggressive use of force?
I don't know why. I think it's just strange. Like normally you would expect if there were more calls, there ought to be more police interactions, and therefore you might expect there would be more use of force if there are more police interactions and more calls. It's strange when there's an increase in use of force, but a decrease in calls. That's all. Yeah, I don't know what the cause of that would be, but I'd be curious if we might be able to sort of review and assess that.
Right. Could I just add something, AJ? All great things. I just want to make sure we can fit that all in. So when we do our board officer meeting, let's tease this out and talk that through. Thank you.
I did have one question also. When we talked about existential situations, Are we working with Syracuse at all regarding the what happened there with their legislation based on what happened in Rochester?
That's a great question. We have reached out to them 2 or 3 times with no response. We asked for a meeting to just sit and have a conversation virtually, just to do a check-in. How are you doing? Where do things currently stand? Is there anything that we could support you from Rochester? But we've not heard anything. We've reached out 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, and thanks for that article, Larry, because I found it very interesting that they used our decision to take away their power.
One thing I just want to point out, the conversation about AI, I believe that was one of the policy reports that was on the docket. So again, it would be great. I know that right now, Dr. Campbell, you're working on having the data and policy team sort through the reports that were on the docket, and there were quite a few, given the staff that is there now. When that's prepared, I'm really looking forward to seeing how that's going to be prioritized, because perhaps that's, I'd like to know what is being prioritized, because you can't, given it was going from maybe 7 staff members to 2, I imagine that's going to change the priorities for the year, and that's going to affect, what we voted on. So that would be good to see when it's ready.
And we could talk offline, Dr. Myers or anybody else, but yeah, I can help out with the Syracuse, just my day job with folks. We engage with them. My union does out there, the elected officials and some of the community groups. So yeah.
Any other questions? Are you okay? Okay. I think that's the end of the department updates. Is that correct? Okay. Well, I guess technically next on the agenda is a chairperson's report. I don't know how much of a report I have. I guess let me say this. I appreciate this opportunity, and I want to just talk about some of my priorities. And frankly, I think they're probably shared by other members of the board. But these are things that are particularly of interest and concern to me that I would, like to do some work on. I think a lot of board members would agree with that. The first thing that comes to mind is data access. This is something that's already come up in this meeting. It's come up at prior meetings. The PAB has the power to access all data and evidence from RPD under the charter. Despite all of the legal decisions related to the Locust Club lawsuits, that piece of the charter was not touched, and we still have those powers, and we ought to utilize them. The question of how to do that, I think, is one that's worth exploring, and we need to keep on that point and not let it up. So that is a big priority of mine. Additionally, restoration of PAB's powers, in particular to investigate and hold officers accountable if they have committed misconduct. Very important to me, whether it's through the appeal, through legislation, or what have you. I think that's of paramount importance. Additionally, building bridges with the Alliance and the community and making sure that the community has a sense of engagement in what we do and a sense of teamwork, because I think when we talk about these issues related to the PAB and what we're trying to accomplish, I think we're all in agreement about what we want the PAB to do and the sorts of things we think the agency ought to be doing. So if we can get that teamwork and sense of unity together, I think that's something that's important to me. And further, I'm interested in expanding the capacity of the agency to perform its duties. As we're limited by the legal decision, our focus is on these policies, these patterns, practices, policies, and procedures. I would like to expand the capacity of the agency to handle a great volume of these policies that we would like to look at. We've discussed a bunch of them tonight, and there's a relatively small number of people at the agency actually able to do that work. So I would love to see that expanded so that we can look at the full depth of patterns, practices, policies, and procedures of RPD that the law currently allows us to look into and that the community would like to see us look into. So with that being said, I will end my remarks and we can move on to committee reports. So the first committee report is the Legislative Affairs Committee. So do we have any updates related to that legislative affairs? Larry, I don't know if there's anything you would like to share. Arlene?
nothing on, we just established it a couple weeks ago, so nothing on the committee itself. But I do, if I can, regarding the legislation, I do, it's been already talked about, but main part of this, we got to get a meeting scheduled, get people on the committee. But that idea of squeaky wheel getting the grease and trying to talk, about the legislation, legal stuff, like you said, Andrew Chelly and the rest of the lawyers are working on that. That's going to take months. I'm confident with the outcome, but in the meantime, I'm getting that legislative process going. So if there is a special session at the end of the year, which possibly could happen in Albany, you never know, or beginning of session, beginning of next year, making sure this is something that there's community support and institutional support from the governor and both houses of the legislature. It's not just our local folks. It's just the importance of we have time on that, but just importance of that.
I would like to try to get something on the calendar so that the committee can have its first meeting. I would like to invite the Alliance to attend as well. I would like to sort of hammer out an action plan of what we want to do to try to get these things done. So I'll stop there, but I think that's sort of a good next step. Let's get a first meeting on the books, so we can actually hammer out the path forward. Okay, training committee. All right, and youth and community engagement.
Yep. Not too much to add since we last met, but one thing that Board Member Wilson and I talked about was, and AJ alluded to this, challenging the board to ensure that we are trying to attend some of the summer events. This is a friendly challenge. This is not a mandatory thing, but Yvonne and I and also staff would like to, I encourage the staff to help us through that communication that Brittany discussed earlier in informing us of what events we're at. I highly encourage all of us try to attend one tabling event, even for a few minutes, an hour, however much you'd like, how much of the heat would allow you to. It is a wonderful opportunity to be able to see what the thoughts are of the community in real time and be able to share information about the PAB. So we will do our part, Yvonne and myself, in trying to ensure that we are relaying that information. But as Brittany mentioned, is right there on the website when you hop on. So we will continue to forward that message throughout the summer, and we hope to see everybody at the table. And that being said, in addition to the tabling events, some of the priorities that Board Member Wilson and I discussed was also trying to actively measure within our community engagement, passive versus active engagement, whereas we're asking the community to approach us versus us approaching the community and helping the agency identify any gaps that exist geographically or just demographically. So those are some of our priorities that we're excited to go into this fiscal year with.
Also, I'd just like to add, because I don't want the community to walk away with the wrong impression. I've attended many of the current events, and we've had great board turnout. So, as opposed to a challenge, I would say the board should continue to do the great work that they're doing in attending the events.
Absolutely. Thank you for that correction. It was more of in the spirit of a summer challenge, but you're absolutely right. I think our board does a tremendous job of showing up. But this was just more of I want to see us on the Instagram posts that Brittany puts out of us at the table. Brianna, excuse me.
No, what I really would like to say, I think she probably said it, but a lot of things that do go on, we used to get memos or invitations to a lot of the things that's out there in the community, right? So that's the only thing that I would like to see, that continue to be established, so that when something is happening in advance, not a day before, but in advance, we would know where it is, so we have the opportunity to come if we want to. Not that we have to. So I think we should be invited. I'm going to go once again. And the Alliance should also know where these things are so they can show up, so that we can show a united front and let the people know that we stand together and that we all on one accord.
Great. Okay, those are the committee reports. Moving on, any old business to discuss? Any new business to discuss? All right. Would anyone like to go into executive session? Do I have a motion for executive session?
I'd like to go to executive session briefly, with no votes taken, but to discuss updates on the legal case. I know you mentioned the memo that's coming, and I had some strategies I want to talk about around the legal case.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Votes for going into executive session to discuss the Locust Club lawsuit?
Aye.
Passes. We will now go to executive session. All right, folks, we are back from executive session. No votes were taken. Do I have a motion to adjourn our meeting tonight? Second?
I second.
Vote. Okay, we're adjourned.